In this series, we're going over the different product lines of Blackmagic Design and where and when we recommend using them in Church AV. For churchav.ca, I'm Jacob Nussbaum, and this is a Blackmagic camera switcher. At its most basic, a switcher is a device that can receive a video feed from multiple cameras and choose which one you're showing to your audience. Usually, there's two form factors a switcher can come in: tabletop and rack-mounted. In a tabletop switcher, all your video signals go to the room where you're doing the switching, because the panel that you're operating is the panel that's also responsible for the processing of all the video feeds. A rack-mounted switcher, on the other hand, takes the switching commands from your panel, but all the video cables and therefore the signal processing happens in a rack. This is more common in large-scale and permanent installs. Let's take a look at the Blackmagic tabletop switchers first. First one in line is the entry-level option and the hottest ticket item, the A10 Mini series. The A10 Mini series of switchers are magnificently compact, all-in-one switchers, graphics mixers, audio mixers, and video encoding, recorder, and streamers. If you have a very mobile setup, you need to strike up and down in a crunch, the compact A10 Mini makes for a great solution. There's a Pro and non-Pro variant of this model. But we would only recommend the Pro option because it includes a multicam view, just like is behind me, and a multicam view is necessary for a multi-camera setup. The A10 Mini Pro has the option to come in either HDMI or an SDI standard, with either 4 or 8 inputs. SDI is a more professional standard for its reliable video cables with locking connectors and a much further run distance before you experience signal loss, compared to the consumer-friendly HDMI. HDMI has the advantage, however, of working natively with many consumer-grade cameras you might already have, including the Pocket Cinema camera, which does lack SDI. The HDMI model, when paired with the Blackmagic camera, also takes full advantage of the incredibly granular camera control unit within the ATEM software. With the SDI model, you need to redistribute one of your SDI outputs back to all of your cameras with a second SDI return cable. Whichever model you select, you needn't worry about feeling locked in, as you can bring any camera feed into your system with the appropriate Blackmagic converter, which we'll talk about more later. The Mini Pro Extreme is the option that includes twice the inputs and outputs, and you might find the 8 inputs rather extreme. But if you have one input for live graphics, a wide shot, and 2 tight shots, you find yourself hitting a wall quickly. Both sizes, however, come with an ISO option. The additional processing power of the ISO units allows for recording not just of the program feed of your production, but of a camera synced recording of each individual camera feed as well. This makes live recording productions a breeze to edit and is a powerhouse for multicam studio recordings like podcasts. Now, the reigning champ in the A10 Mini form factor is their latest model, the Extreme ISO G2. This unit expands the audio inputs from the 3.5mm of the previous units to 2 full-sized XLR, and including a headphone jack for monitoring your audio, where previously there was none. Alongside the added MADI multi-channel digital audio port, it turns this switcher into a full-fledged broadcast audio mixer. The G2 adds Thunderbolt USB and accompanies the 1G network jack with a second 10 gig port, professional high-speed video recording into CF Express B, and 3 programmable HDMI outputs. The feature on the G2 that I personally am most excited about for my own church broadcast is actually the physical buttons for the keys. We bring our sermon graphics and worship lyrics in from ProPresenter and use the Luma key to layer them over our cameras. But in order for our broadcast operator to switch them on and off each transition, they have to use laptop software. And this isn't a huge deal, but being able to condense the limited table space and have full functionality with just the board alone is a nice bonus. The next step up within the Blackmagic Design tabletop professional broadcast switchers is the television studio line of switchers. There's an HD and a 4K offering, with the HD variant offering ISO recording. Except for the difference in resolution, the television studio models all offer 8 SDI inputs and 12 outputs, 10 aux, and a dedicated multi-view and program feed. You may be wondering why you need quite so many outputs, even more than you have inputs. And the reason is because there is some information you want to be able to send back from your switcher to the cameras. Like I mentioned earlier, color control information for your compatible Blackmagic camera can make each of your cameras provide a consistent image, and a program feed back to your camera operator for them to be able to see the graphics layering or the angles of the other camera operators. The television studio units also function as substantial broadcast mixers, with MADI digital audio in and out, dual XLR, and quarter-inch TRS inputs, 5-pin XLR and a network jack, each for TalkBack comms input options, 2 USB-C connections for recording to an external drive, and lastly, for connectivity, the television studio has 4 10-gig network ports to function as a desktop switch as well. I am currently installing a church with the HD8 ISO, and because they aren't saturating all of their SDI outputs with cameras, they've opted to use the excess outputs as a video router for their lobby and nursery TVs, giving a view of the service to those outside the sanctuary without opting for additional video routing hardware. Now that we've looked at Blackmagic's compact and mid-size switchers, let's step into their flagship line, the ATEM Constellation series. These switchers are built for large-scale productions and are designed to live in a dedicated rack room, typically as part of a permanent install. Like the ATEM Mini and television studio models, the Constellation offers video switching with program and preview outputs, keyers, graphics layering, and multi-camera control. However, the Constellation stands apart by giving you multiple mix effects, or MEs. A mix effect is essentially an independent switcher inside the main switcher, each with its own program and preview outputs, keyers, transitions, etc. Let's break down why this matters for churches. Now imagine you're live streaming your service, feeding camera angles to your in-house sanctuary screens, also sending a clean feed with no lyrics to the nursery. With a single ME switcher like the Mini or the television studio, all of those destinations get exactly the same program feed. That's fine for your smaller setups, but it limits your flexibility. With a Constellation, you could use one ME for image magnification in the service, a second ME for your live stream, and a third ME for your overflow rooms or children's ministry. Each of these outputs can be fully customized and operated independently. If you were trying to emulate the same setup with 3 different tabletop switchers, you would potentially have to duplicate all the same SDI feeds from each camera and graphics input to each individual tabletop switcher, multiplying your infrastructure costs. Depending on your needs, the Constellation series comes in several sizes. The 1ME Constellation HD has 10 SDI inputs. The 2ME and the 4ME models expand this significantly with up to 40 SDI inputs. To take full advantage of the Constellation's power, you'll likely want to pair it with an ATEM Advanced panel. These are large format hardware control surfaces, not switchers themselves, that connect over your network to control your ATEM switcher. Think of it like the keyboard and mouse to the computer. Instead of relying on the ATEM software control on a laptop or desktop computer, the advanced panels provide tactile buttons, knobs, transition faders, and dedicated control sections for media, macros, and keyers. They come in 1ME, 2ME, and 4ME layouts, matching your switcher's capability. In practical terms, we've installed the Constellation 2ME in churches where the main auditorium receives image magnification, tightly following the pastor, while the live stream operator can independently control their own camera mix, choosing wider or more varied shots that are better suited to online viewing. With the Constellation, it's all happening on one piece of hardware. So while the ATEM Mini and television studio lines are incredibly capable and often the best fit for small to medium churches or mobile setups, the Constellation series offers a solution when your production needs to grow beyond a single program output. It's a serious tool, but in the right context, it simplifies rather than complicates your workflow, bringing order and intentionality to a complex live environment. Reach out to learn how we can help with all your church AV needs at churchav.ca.